Everybody. This is Darryl LaBarrie. Have you on here with Coach Yasir Rosemond, newly hired assistant coach for the Indiana University men's basketball program. That's a great look. I'm so excited for you. Usually I talk a little bit more in the beginning, man, but just if you can just tell us how you feel. Obviously, getting the opportunity at a great institution, one of the blue bloods, best programs in the country, bar none. Just kind of tell us how it feels every day, putting the IU on your chest and walking in the office.
I mean, it's a blessing, man. Obviously, you and I have become close. We've been knowing each other now for 20 something years.
Don't date us. Don't date us.
Yeah,
Don't date
okay.
us.
We've been knowing each other a long time, man. Been through the ups and downs of coaching, came through this thing together. Obviously, getting this opportunity at IU, man, like I tell people all the time, man, I sat in my car and cried for 10 minutes. When Coach Wilson offered me the job, man, I really couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
You know, when you're going through coaching, when you're coaching, this is one of the schools you look at and you be like, man, if I could coach there. You know, you got your North Carolinas, you got your Dukes, you got who am I missing?
Kentucky.
And it's IU.
UCLA, IU. All
IU.
right there together.
All right there together, man. So at the end of the day, it's been a blessing, man. I've always loved coaching anyway. So as you know, when you've been coaching this long, you gotta love it to keep doing because there's a lot of ups and downs, man. But just walking in that office every day, walking in the cook, man, it's like, whew, it's amazing. God is good, man. That's all I can say. God is good. And I'm excited about what we're doing at IU. I'm excited to be around the guys that I work with. I think we're going to be able to get that thing back going. I don't think it's really lost its luster. You know, I tell people that all the time. I mean, it's just gone through a little bit of a lull. I mean, but it's not a place where they haven't had guys, really good players there. You know, they just haven't had that success for a long period of time like they did back in the 80s.
I mean, it's a unreal program, and like you said, you know, when you have 5 national championships, that's the bar. So winning the Big Ten, going to the NCAA tournament, the fan base has been spoiled. That's not good. Like that's what they that's the bare minimum. They expect you to do that.
Yes.
I know you guys are going to do a great job. Thank you for sharing with us. You know, the emotions that you went through, getting an opportunity like that. It just shows, you know, your love for coaching, but also your understanding of the moment that you're in right now. And I know you're going to seize the moment. You always rise to the occasion. Happy for you, man. You already know anything I can do. Glad to help you, man.
I'm excited.
I know you are. I know you are. Let's jump into a little bit of nuts and bolts of the show. So you kind of already explained, you know, the difference in being an IU. But I know, you know, Oregon meant a lot to you. You played there. Obviously, another great program. You've been at great programs everywhere you've been, to be honest with you. But again, just kind of explain the difference in kind of when you call from IU, the tension, kind of like the response you get versus some, you know, you've been in great programs, but I'm sure when you call now and you say this is Yasir Rosemond from IU, you get a little bit different response. Just kind of give us a feel for how that has been.
Oh, it's funny because the other day they had us talking to, I think, 450 donors. And I told them that it's a little bit different when you call a kid now. It's no one that's in the top 100 or top 10, top 15 that I don't feel like I can call and they'll pick up the phone.
Immediately.
That hasn't been the case at some of the other places that I was at. So just having IU on your chest, when you walk in a building or when you make a phone call, people listen. People are going to listen. And that is something that I'm very, very excited about. I'm very excited about that because, I mean, you and I we've both been at high majors that, you know, you may call a top 10 kid and he may flirt with you, but you're not really picking up your calls all the time.
No, sometimes he sends you the voicemail. Yeah,
exactly. But the kid's excitement when you say this is Coach Rosemond from Indiana University, it's just a different feel, man. And I think with the staff that we got some heavy hitters on our staff, man. Dane Fife that played there. We got Thad Mata, Coach Wilson, NBA background, Kenya Hunter, myself. tremendous support staff, man. It's
Mm-hmm.
just, it's all there, man. It's all there to make that jump, man. And it's all there for you to be successful. And that's just something that I haven't had at previous universities that I was at. Now, that doesn't mean those previous universities were bad, because I was at some good universities: Alabama, Georgia, Oregon, Sanford. All those universities were great universities, but there's just a difference in those universities in IU, and that's because of the 5 championships.
Exactly. Man, you guys are going to do a great job. I love the staff. Glad you gave us a little bit of introduction to everybody on the staff. And for anybody who doesn't know those names, you obviously aren't fully entrenched in college basketball. That's an elite level staff that's going to do great recruiting, but also do great when they bring the kids on campus, developing them as young men and as players. So excited for you guys. And again, like anything I can do to help you, please let me know. Want to touch base with you.
I'm gonna be calling you.
All right. You know, I'm gonna answer on first call. You already know. All right. So want to touch base with you. Some questions that we talked about before.
Okay.
And I think for whatever reason, I was talking to somebody today, and I'm like, you know, I'm excited. Me and y'all doing another show. We're going to talk about some of the things we talked about before, and I think it's going to be received a little differently. And they were like, so why would they receive it differently? Because it's the same 2 people with the same information. I said, well, the difference is he actually has a job right now.
Yeah.
He's actually going to be recruiting. He sat in with meetings with other staffs right now. So it's not kind of like hearsay. This is currently, we're in real time right now. So I want to get to some real time questions about.
I knew they were coming.
You knew they were coming. You knew they were coming. So touch base with me about the recruiting landscape now. You know, I'm going to try to stay off my soapbox about what the NCAA has done with the one-time transfer rule.
Yes.
And then also the biggest one to me that I think people haven't really paid as much attention to is that everybody received a redshirt year, how that's impacted your recruiting with the high school class. And also, you know, are you guys deciding to go high school, or you guys deciding to go recruiting portal? I'm sure you're going to do a combination of 2. And again, I don't need you to say anything specific, but I just want to get what I'm trying to do is give everybody a general idea of what coaching staffs are thinking right now during this time period.
Well, the portal has been crazy. And I think, you know, the majority of coaches right now, I mean, we're just recruiting out of the portal. And it's not because you don't like high school kids. And I think you and I have discussed this before. It's just having guys that have already been through it, you know, guys with good numbers, guys that have been through college. They're just, it's not that they're more talented than the high school guys. They just have more experience.
Okay.
Having that experience and understanding helps your team quicker than a freshman does. Now, that doesn't mean you're not going to recruit a freshman, because you got to have, I feel like you build a program through freshmen. You know this, you built programs before that have been successful. You got to have freshmen. You got to have high school guys to build a program. But right now, with the portal being so hot and there's so many good players that are leaving programs that were successful and they were successful, you're more apt to look at those guys that are in the portal right now. And that's nothing against the high school kids. That's just the lay of the land right now. That's just how I think high school kids in the 21 class are being affected because of this, because there are still kids that are sitting out there that probably would have scholarship offers from some places if the portal didn't have as many athletes as it has in it. And I think that is what most colleges are looking at right now. They're just looking at the portal. As far as what we're doing from a recruiting standpoint, we're recruiting both. I mean, we had a lot of guys come back. We got some guys out of the portal. We got some really good players out of the portal. So we're excited about them. And we're trying to concentrate maybe on one more guy in the portal, but we're trying to concentrate on our 22 class right now. Bring some guys in. And the sad thing about this whole deal is you never know who's going to be on your team. I think we have a collective group. We got a good group of guys. I think our guys want to be at Indiana. You just never know. So you're always thinking, you always have to think ahead now. Now, when it goes to that extra year, I don't think a lot of people understand the extra year. So now you got seniors that are seniors again. You got freshmen that are freshmen again. And that, I think that's the reason why the portal is so big too.
I agree.
I think people understand, oh man, I got just an extra year sitting there.
I think that's the biggest reason that the portal is so high, to be honest.
Exactly. And you got guys that were graduating. Now they're like, you know what? I can go over here.
Yeah.
So everybody getting that extra year has really affected recruiting for this year. And
before we move on from this topic, do you guys happen to have any seniors that have decided to stay for a 5th or 6th year?
no, we
Okay.
didn't.
Okay.
And I could be mistaken, but I don't think we did. No.
Well, good. So we can talk about it then. I
Yes.
didn't want to talk about it if you did. So
Yes, we can.
what's your personal feeling on the guys that are deciding to stay for their 5th or 6th year? What I'm trying to say for everyone who's watching is you played your 4 years, you've had your 4 years of eligibility. Now you get this extra redshirt year because of COVID,
Yes.
and you deciding to stay and play another year. How do you feel about that personally?
It doesn't bother me because this year was unique, man. They didn't get to have the fans. Like if it was a kid at Indiana that wanted to stay another extra year so he can play in front of 18,000 fans, I couldn't be mad at them because of that. You know, obviously it's going to affect the recruiting, but the NCAA has granted these guys, you know, granted you extra scholarships so you can keep those guys because this year was unique, man. And you know as well as I know because you played at a high level, I played at a high level. Having those fans, man, that's what it's all about. And that's what you play for. And playing this year under these unique circumstances where you don't have any fans, I can't fault a guy for wanting to come back and actually have a senior year that is a bit normal. You know, even if there's not capacity crowds, there are going to be crowds this year. And just having that for your senior year, I just think that's something that most kids want, and I don't have a problem with them doing it. I mean, it's affecting people, but I don't have a problem with them doing it.
I love my guy. He's so smart. He wouldn't even let me. I tried to just get him in the corner and just see if I could just trick him, but he ain't too smart. So I'm gonna speak for the crowd and I'm gonna speak for the kids. All right. That was a great answer, by the way. Like I loved it. It was believable. I think you mean it. I'm not 100% sure, but
I already know what you're gonna do. I get it. I already know.
So I'm gonna speak for the kids. I think it's unfair, personally. So if you played 10 games, you played 8 games, your team, there was multiple schools that had like 50-day pauses because of COVID. You know, other teams had COVID, they couldn't play. I get it in those specific situations. But if you played a 33 game season, 29 game season, you didn't miss any games, for you to be allowed to come back and play again. And basically what you're doing is taking a scholarship from a rising freshman, a high school senior. I think it's unfair for a lot of reasons. I mean, you've had your opportunity to play. The reason that the numbers work and the reason that we're able to do this, where you're able to recruit freshmen, is because there's a group of seniors that are always leaving out.
Yeah.
And the numbers are able to be replaced or replenished by either rising seniors or JUCO sophomores.
That's true.
Now, when you keep those guys in there, it's just a big pool of guys who are just not going to get a chance to go anywhere. So you got to go prep school. I don't even know if there's enough space in JUCO because those guys are coming back. Like I'm talking to high school seniors who are good players, and they just can't get a sniff, y'all. I mean, they cannot get a sniff. It's nothing out there.
I talked to one today. I can't even lie to you. I talked to one today.
Good kids, good players. It's nothing they can do, y'all. They can't get anywhere. It's nowhere for them to go because we had this conversation. We started it off with this, with you rather recruit out of the portal, which I get, and I'm pretty sure if I was in your seat, I would feel the exact way. But I got to speak for the kids who are out here just trying to earn a scholarship, and it's just not fair. The NCAA didn't think this through. There's not enough slots for this. It's just putting the 21 class, and I think it's actually going to spill over into the 22 class, possibly the 23 class before this thing cycles out, and then we can get back to normal. I feel bad for everyone. I know you didn't do anything about it. I mean, it's not your fault. And you're just playing with the hand that you were dealt. But I had to speak up for everybody, and I'm sure a lot of people agree with me.
I agree with you to a point. It's just the circumstances are so unique. I mean, it was a pandemic. You know, everybody was affected. You know what I mean? Everybody was. And the guys, and you know how it is your senior year. You've been there. You get to walk out with your family. The crowd go wild for you. You got your picture up. You know what I mean? Those guys didn't get to have that. Now, you know, me and you we cut from the same cloth. You don't get everything your way. Sometimes it's not life.
That's life.
That's life. That's a part of life. But there's a soft spot in my heart because as you being a Georgia Tech grad, when you walked out there, you had your crowd there, you had your family there, you had your mom and everybody there. You know, you had all your friends from high school being home. So I just kind of feel for guys that didn't get to have that opportunity. Now, I do kind of feel a little bit different about guys that are seniors at programs and leaving and going to other programs. I mean,
taking advantage of the gray area.
Taking advantage of the gray area, but that's just the lay of the land. And when it's the lay of the land, that's what people gonna do. You know, it's in the rules.
Yeah. So, 2 quick points on that before we move on. One thing is, I hope that they put an asterisk by anybody who breaks records that's allowed to play 5 full seasons versus guys who got to play 4 seasons. That's very unfair to those guys who've broken records and played really well and did it in a short period of time. But again, lay of the land. And then the last thing is I saw come across the screen, but do the super seniors count against the scholarship limit? The answer to that is no. But what people don't understand is, unless you're at a high level program, you still have to pay for those students to go to school, pay for their housing, pay for their travel. So unless you're an upper echelon program, a BCS level program who's doing well financially, you won't be able to keep a senior and bring in a freshman. What you'll have to do is you'll probably just keep the senior and you won't bring anyone new into that spot. You'll probably just keep 13 scholarships. So it is impacting the younger kids regardless. I just want to make sure everybody understood that.
It is.
I want to touch base with you about, now that you're back on staff, what are some of the traits that you guys have targeted that you're looking for in recruits, whether that's in the portal or whether that's high school seniors, whether it's JUCO players, whatever you go, whatever route you guys go, what traits are you guys looking for? And I want to know character traits first, if you can, and then let's go basketball traits, because I want people to understand that you're looking for both. You're not looking for one or the other.
Well, character is big. One thing about Indiana University that you can't just bring anybody to Indiana University. There's a microscope on that program. So we're recruiting kids with good character first. We're recruiting kids' parents. I mean, we talk about those things. We talk about kids' parents and how they may affect their kids. Now, obviously, being a parent, I can say that now.
Y'all had twins, for everybody who doesn't know, twin boys. Happy for them, man.
Yeah. Being a parent, I understand now how parents can be a little bit overbearing. But at the same time, they also have to have good character. They can't be on Twitter and they can't be talking about AAU coaches. They can't be, we're not looking for guys that switch AAU teams 9 or 10 times. So we're looking for good quality.
Hold on, y'all. Before you move on, we can't skate over that. So I want to make sure everybody, a couple of things he just said that were very important. They're looking at the character of the parents as well as the kids.
Yes.
They're looking to see how the parents are conducting themselves on social media as well as the way the kids are conducting themselves on social media. And they are tracking if you're a person who travels from AAU team to AAU team, high school team to high school team. College coaches are aware and paying attention to that. Keep it moving, y'all. Great point.
Yes, we do pay attention to that. Obviously, those are big things, man. You recruit character. And me and you, we always talk about this. You recruit your own problems. So obviously we're going to give kids a chance. There are some kids that are going to get a chance. But at the same time, we're not going to really take high-risk kids. We kids can't afford to do that at Indiana University. And I don't think that's what Coach Wilson is looking for. So those are some of the things that we're looking for. As far as from a basketball standpoint, Woody wants to play NBA style. Obviously the college game has changed. The landscape of basketball has changed. We want to play open. We want to play 4 out, 1 in. We want the 1, 2, and 4 to be able to push it. So we're looking for skilled, athletic guys, long, skilled, athletic guys. And we're looking for guys that understand basketball.
Okay.
So we're not just going out here looking at guys that are averaging 30 and 40 points at AAU. We're looking for guys that can make the right plays. Obviously we're looking for those characteristics of length and athleticism. But you also got to be able to play basketball because we're going to do a lot of reading and reacting. So that's kind of how we want to play out on offense.
Okay.
Read and react. We want to switch on defense. So you got to, you got to have smarts. So the way Coach Woodson wants to play, we have to have guys that actually understand the game and that also can pick up concepts. Because concepts going to be different. This as well as I know. In the NBA, they like Coach Marta says this all the time. They're at a 500 level. They're 500 level guys. So their minds are always going. They got different terminology. They see things a little bit different. We may have to dummy it down just a little bit because that NBA can be a little bit advanced, and Coach Woodson has talked about that. But we still need guys that can think. We need thinkers.
All right, so a couple of things I want to touch on. You said you want skilled, long athletic guys. I need you to be a little bit elaborate on what that means when you think you see a skilled player, and then also, in your opinion, I think I got a good idea, but I want you to articulate it. How are you going to evaluate and see if you think a guy is a thinker and can read and react when you're watching the game?
Okay, so as far as skilled athletic guys that are on the wing, we want guys 6'5", 6'6", maybe 6'4", long, athletic, long arms, guys that can switch on defense, guys that could do multiple things with the basketball. 1, 2, 3, and 4 are going to push the basketball for us. So at the end of the day, that's what Coach Woodson wants. So does that answer your question a little bit?
Yeah. So you want to play up tempo. You want guys that can handle. You want guys that can make decisions. It sounds like you want multiple guys that can come off the ball screen and make different reads, and as well as skilled. People usually just think shooting, but that's also your ability to pass, ball handle. I just want to make sure we're clear for everybody what you guys are watching and looking for.
And we look for guys that can shoot the basketball. Shooting the basketball is a premium now. Dribbling the basketball is not a premium. Being able to shoot the basketball. Yes, you need to be able to handle, but we're looking for guys that can really make shots because, as you know, it opens up the floor and it opens up space for driving lanes so you can drive, kick, swing, and you can do some of the things that you want to do offensively. When you can space the floor, as well as I know, it's hard to stop guys on offense. It's hard to stop guys defensively that have an offense that can space the floor, spread the floor with multiple shooters.
Exactly.
As far as the characteristics, we're looking for guys that are well coached, man.
Yeah.
At the AAU level that are doing more things than just running ball screens every time on the court. Obviously, it's a little bit difficult when you're coaching AAU. I actually coached AAU for a little while.
We're gonna come back to that too.
And the hardest part, the difficult part about it is you don't get to practice. So you got to kind of simplify everything. And I think that's why a lot of times AAU teams just run ball screens because you got guys from South Carolina, North Carolina, the bordering states that can't get to practice, and you don't get enough practice time. So we're looking for those teams that are guys that are well-coached teams, and we're looking for guys that make the right play. So if you got 2 on the ball, you drive and you have 2 on the ball and you want to pass it. Pass it. We don't want you to get 2 on the ball and just try to force up a shot. So we're looking for guys that can play with other guys too, that can play with other good players.
Perfect. So you hit on a couple things, and I'm glad you touched on the AAU thing, and again, we'll come back to it, but it's difficult to run an intricate offense and a lot of different sets, a lot of different actions because you don't have enough practice time. That's fair.
Yes.
And I'm learning that too because I'm actually coaching the AAU team as well. So when I used to sit over there and say, man, they don't run nothing, now I understand. Like it's hard to run a lot of stuff when you can't get the practice time in, but you still can make the right decision. And like you said, if you're on a 2-on-1 fast break and you don't know that you're going to drive that ball all the way until the defense commits to you and then make the drop-off pass, or you're going to continue to go all the way to the rim if nobody stops the ball, you don't have a feel. If you can't set up your cut, then come off of a screen, use a shoulder to shoulder, or if you can't come off of a ball screen and the big stays with you and drop it off, then it doesn't matter what you're running. You don't have a good feel for the game. Can you be coached into feel? Yes, you can. Yeah. But I say this to one of my mentors all the time, Coach Hewitt. If I want to cook a steak, I'd rather get the best steak I can that's aged, the best meat versus and cook it the best I can versus getting a bad meat and trying to cook it the best I can. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me get the guy who understands and then coach him up versus getting the guy who has a bad feel and then coach him up. No, Would you agree with that?
You got to have guys with feel, man, because the stuff that you're trying to do offensively, they have to be able to pick that stuff up. They have to know what a down screen is. They have to know what a pin down is. They have to know what the back screen is. They have to know what a cross screen is. Some of the things that hurt freshmen when they come in, man, you talk about this all the time, is they don't have a feel for the game. Yeah. And a lot of times it's not their fault. They're just been put in situations where they always have the ball and they're always the main guy. So I think sometimes that affects freshmen a lot when they get to school because the only feel for the game they have is, okay, I got the ball, I got to go make a play. Because they're usually the best guys on their team, and sometimes they don't have other guys on their team that have the same capabilities as them. So they're the ones that's just making all the plays. So when they get to college and they play with a group of guys that are just as good, that also average 20 points a game in practice, they don't have a feel for how to get other guys involved and play within a team setting.
Exactly. And what you'll learn, if you really know how to play, the ball is going to find the open man. And if you make the right decision, everybody will take good shots. The team will look better. You'll score more points. You'll be more efficient. You'll shoot a higher percentage. But you just have to trust that the other guys are going to do the right thing as well, which is a difficult thing for young players to do.
Yes.
Let's touch back on the AAU coaching thing. So you were able to coach for a brief stint. Let's talk. It's a lot of things we could talk about with AAU.
Yes.
Let's just talk about from the perspective of some of the things we touched on with recruiting, the frustrations of parents, the not knowing what's going on. I think you coached a 16 under group, so they were a little bit younger. So I'm coaching some guys who are trying to get scholarships now. So I mean, I understand, but I'm sure you've had conversations with other people. Kind of what your advice for them was then, when you weren't a college coach, when you did not have an active job like you do now. Has your thought process changed now that you're actively coaching? And then kind of, just give us you understand what they're going through. Give us your advice. Your son is a 2021. He hasn't gotten a scholarship yet. What would you advise him to do? And then also your son's a 2022. And he's coming up with everything that's going on. What would you advise him to do? And remember, it's just me and you talking. You're not talking to anybody else. Give us the 100% real deal.
Yes. So for a 21 kid that hasn't gotten their scholarship offer yet, or a scholarship that they think they should have, first off, they should still play AAU right now. I would still play. Just play, because you never know. I mean, there's going to be spots. So it may not be the level that you want to go to. And if it's not the level that you want to go to, there's other opportunities. There's nothing wrong with going to junior college. There's nothing wrong with taking another year and going to prep school. So if I'm a 21 kid and I'm not getting what I feel like I should get right now, it's been a unique year. There's nothing wrong with going to a prep school. There's nothing wrong with going to junior college, especially if you're a qualifier, because all that does is speed up the process for you, because you only have to go to junior college 1 year and then you have 3 years remaining in college. So
exactly.
At the end of the day, if I'm a 21 kid, I'm playing AAU, and every time I step on the floor, I'm playing hard. I mean, I'm playing as hard as I can play. That's something that I told the kids that I was coaching, because at the end of the day, I was their biggest ally, because I had the most contacts. So I got more contacts than anybody in this gym.
Exactly.
So you should be trying to play hard, not so much just to impress me, but so if it's a school that calls me, hey man, what about that kid right there? Hey man, he play hard, man. He know how to play. He can help your program. I can make some of those phone calls for them. For the 22 kids right now, I mean, you guys are going to get an opportunity to play in front of coaches. So, I always say this: take off your cool jacket. Don't have your cool jacket on when it's time to play. Even now, because this past weekend, all I did was watch games. From Friday.
And that was my next question for you. How much are you guys streaming and watching actual games right now?
I mean, we're watching them. I mean, we stream them, we record all of them. So, and throughout the day in the office, that's what we're doing. We got high school games on. We watching these guys, and it's hard to watch on video. But at the end of the day, that's all we have. So we have to watch it. So I'm watching mannerisms as guys go to the bench. I'm watching guys make plays. I'm watching how they interact with their teammates. I'm watching all that stuff. And so is Coach Woodson. And so is the rest of the stuff. That's what we're watching. So at the end of the day, when you guys step on that court, you got to be ready to play. When you step in between those lines, you don't have time to be cool, because guess what? The portal is real. And you can actually go in the portal and really figure out how hard the guy's playing, because you can look at the number and they have stats. So if I'm a high school guy, I need to be trying to show that, you know what, I'm ready for the college level, or I know what it takes to get to the college level, because there's a guy over here in the portal that probably averaged 10 points a game somewhere, was a glue guy on his team, shooting 40% from three. And if you're matching it up against a high school guy, it's like, so it's different.
Tough. Yeah.
So, I try to be honest with everybody about this stuff. I think honesty is the best policy. That's how we try to operate at IU, man. We just try to tell these kids what we're doing, what we're looking for, and what are we trying to do in the portal? What are we trying to do with high school kids? I mean, recruiting is different. With the portal, recruiting is going to be different. So these high school guys, they really have to understand what's going on, and they really have to kind of turn it up, because they're not as valuable in some situations. I'm not saying that's at IU, but they're not as valuable at some places as they are as a guy in the portal. They're just not.
Yeah.
You always want experience. And, you know, there's an old saying in college basketball, old teams always win.
I used to, when I was younger, I didn't quite understand what that meant, and I'm not sure I believed in it. But the more you watch basketball, the more you watch college basketball, I think it's a fact, and it's hard to dispute it. It's hard to argue with. And what that means for everybody who has never heard that is the teams that have the most juniors and seniors, and now even grad transfers, as that becomes an option. Just their level of experience, their level of understanding, their level of being in certain situations and how to deal with certain situations allows them to win at a higher level than freshmen and sophomores.
Yeah.
It's just a fact. And it doesn't even go talent to talent. If the talent is somewhat equal and the experience is greater, that team usually finds a way to gut it out, and it just means a little bit more to them. They're just a little bit hungrier, grittier. But a couple of things you hit on that I want to make sure we refresh.
Okay.
I love how you said you're watching the mannerisms of them on the court, how they interact with their teammates, if they're celebrating and genuinely happy for their teammates, or if they're just trying to score and all about themselves. Talk to us about why that's important to you. I understand, but I want to make sure the viewers understand as well.
Well, because you got to be able to, I mean, you got to be able to enjoy someone else having success, because everything is not going to be perfect for you. And you got to know how to play within a team setting. That's just it. It's 5 guys on the team.
Yeah.
Well, it's 5
on
guys
the court
at the same time. You got 13, 14 guys on scholarship. So you got to be able to work together as a team. You got to be able to, whatever that may be. So if your role is the 6th man, okay, when you come off the bench and that guy that you come in for, that guy, y'all need to be slapping hands. Hey, man, let's go. And you need to be just as enthusiastic as that guy was for you on the bench, because it's the team.
Yeah.
And that's what I think sometimes gets lost in all this stuff, man, because everything is about individualism. You know, everybody doing individual workouts. Everything is a highlight reel. You know, it's an individual highlight. You know, I've never seen so many shots made in my life. It's like no one misses. No one misses.
Yeah.
No one ever misses. But I think it's because of the culture that basketball is at right now that we got to shift it a little bit. Obviously, we have to adapt, you know what I mean? Because it's not, you know, old school guys, hey, you know, it's not old school anymore. So we got to be able to adapt. But I think a lot of times what's lost in this, we don't see a lot of team basketball when we look at these highlights. We don't see passes. You know, we don't see guys slapping 5. You know what I'm saying? We don't see guys on the bench rah-rahing for guys. You know, everything in highlights is basically a guy making an individual move and an individual play. So I think that's why a lot of times you're looking at these kids and they don't understand how to come and play with other players.
Yeah.
And they're in turns why the portal is the way it is. Why kids are always transferring. It's not their fault. You know, it's not all their fault. You know, some of it is just the culture of basketball right now. I hope I answered you.
You did. And some of this stuff is conditioned in you because you touched on this earlier. And I think people don't realize that it becomes a habit. Everything you do becomes a habit, and everything you do becomes a part of who you are. So if you're moving from AAU team to AAU team, you're basically transferring. And if you're leaving high school, going to different high schools, you're transferring. So if you've done that 6, 7 times within your basketball career, why would you not do it when you get to college? It's something that you've done. It's something you've done before. You're comfortable doing it. You don't see anything wrong with it. But you are paying attention to that.
Yes.
And you don't want kids who are going to come in and move around. You want to have a kid who is okay with having a little adversity. Things don't go perfect, but they're able to adapt, adjust, stay within the team concept, and figure it out. Like sometimes when we grew up, and again, I know you hate when I do this, but I mean, I am who I am. Like I'm old school. So when you went to college, when you were a freshman, you very rarely played unless you were an elite talent.
Yeah.
And the reason was because guys weren't leaving to go to the pros as early. So guys were older. Goes back to another point we just talked about. They were juniors and seniors, and they were really good players.
Yes.
So you had to come in and bide your time. You had to grind, fight in practice, get better, sit over there, watch, cheer, be enthusiastic, and wait your turn. Now And I get why people say you only have 4 years to do this. Well, now you have 5, depending on everything's going on. But you have a short period of time to get it done. I get it. But at the same time, in life, you're going to go through struggles. You're going to go through adversity. Things aren't going to go your way. So parents, if you're teaching your kids that every single time something doesn't go perfectly, just move and adjust, you know that you can't do that with your job.
Well, also, not to cut you off,
go ahead.
Become more competitive.
No question. No question.
Like if I would have went to Georgia Tech and Darryl LaBarrie was in front of me, I'm like, oh, I'm trying to go get his position.
Exactly.
Friends or not.
Yeah.
And we were going to compete every day because I was competing for minutes. A lot of times,
fight in practice, but then we leave the court, we could be friends.
Exactly. But you have to compete. You have to compete on the court. You got to compete in the game of life.
Like
when you get ready to go get a job, then you're not the only guy that's doing the interview.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to go in there and impress somebody, and you're gonna have to compete for that job.
And then when you get the job, you're gonna have some type of quota or some kind of accomplishment you have to do in a certain time period. And if you don't do that, you know what the job does? What do? Y'all tell us. They fire you. They move on. So you got to come in and get it done, and that's life. Or you have a mortgage payment. If you don't pay the mortgage, what happens to you, y'all?
Hey, you get kicked out. You get evicted.
So in life, things are gonna be tough. They're gonna be hard, and you got to figure it out. So let's not be so quick to run away when things aren't perfect. Now, if you're being done unfairly, that's totally different. If you're being mistreated, you're being abused mentally or physically, I'm not saying stay in that situation. I want to make sure we're clear. But if all things are fair and you're just a little younger than a guy and he's playing better than you, be objective with yourself, tell yourself the truth, and know that you got to get better. Simple as that.
Yes. And then there's this notion that, especially in college right now, there's this notion that, okay, coaches get to leave when they want to leave and things of that nature. A lot of times that's not as true as it seems, and I'm not
touching on this. I'm ready for this one. I've been waiting on this.
And I'm not trying to go against anybody because I get it. You know what I'm saying? If the situation, if you feel like it's a better situation, you should be able to leave the situation if that's how you truly, truly feel. So that's fair. But a lot of times people don't understand coaches have to pay buyouts.
There's a penalty. There's a penalty.
There's a penalty. There's a penalty if I leave IU right now. There's a penalty. I can't just up and leave. There's a penalty to pay. And that's in the contract. Now, I'm not saying that should happen to student athletes if they want to leave, whatever the case may be. But I just don't think it's fair that sometimes it's always, coaches get to leave, because a lot of times coaches do have to pay a penalty. And I do believe if coaches leave and you've been recruited by that coach and a kid wants to leave because that coach recruited him and he's gone to another place, they should be able to play right away. But
they changed that for the most part. You are for the most part. Now you can get out of your letter of intent and move on. So that whole argument, we got to get past that, guys.
Yes.
And then the other thing is coaches, let's say a coach does leave. They can't leave in the 2018-2019 season, go to another school. So now they're 2019-2020, and then go to another school again. So you can't just leave whenever you want to leave. That's not how it works. But players are leaving and playing in 3 different schools in 3 different years. So I don't want to hear this. Coaches can leave whenever they want to leave. That's not. Is it a chance the coach can leave? Yeah. But if he leaves, he's going to be the next place for 3 or 4 years. He's not jumping around ship to ship to ship. And you got another staff coming in, and you got an opportunity to make your decision if you want to stay with that staff or move and go play with another staff.
I think there's a happy medium that we all can come to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously, we don't know every situation at every school. We don't know every kid's situation. We don't know what could have happened. You know what I mean? Kids do get homesick. The whole gamut. But at the same time, I think if you're going to compare the two, I just feel like you just got to have all the facts when you do compare the two. You know what I mean?
I agree.
That's fair.
I agree. Let's touch base on the portal again. Go back to it. So I haven't checked in a couple of weeks. Last time I checked, it was close to 2,200 people total in the portal, and it was a little over 1,400 Division I. Do you know the number right now? Or
I don't know the exact number because somebody is in the portal every single day. I think the issue I have with the portal right now that is scary. There's a lot of guys that's in that portal that won't get a scholarship off. There's a lot of guys.
There's not. So let's just do Division I. Like I said, there's a little over 1,400 division. There's not 1,400 scholarships available.
No.
So something's going to happen to 700, 800, 900 kids. You're not going to have anywhere to go.
And I think that's where a lot of times people don't sit down and evaluate the situation and evaluate it. it is hard for guys that have averaged 2 and 3 and 4 points to go up a level or even get a scholarship somewhere else just because of your numbers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you may have to drop down a level. And I think sometimes kids have to understand that dropping down a level is not all that bad. I mean, if you can still have the same dreams and aspirations of getting to the NBA if you're at a mid-major or low major. Because guess what? If you can play, they'll find you if you can play. But I think
even Division II, Division III, if you can play, they'll find you.
Exactly. And I think sometimes kids are not evaluating their situation and kind of understanding what their situation is. And you may have averaged 4 or 5 points over here and think you're getting screwed, which you could be getting screwed. I don't know the situation, but just understand your options are going to be very, very limited. You know, it's a coach that has recruited you before, that understands that you can really play, that understands that maybe you know, man, he probably didn't get the shot that he should have got, and he could be successful at the program that I'm at. But at the end of the day, I think people need to they need to evaluate before they jump in that portal, because it's not always greener pastures.
I agree. Anything else specific you want to talk about? You know, I've kind of led you into certain different things, but I want to give you the floor. Any specific thing you want to touch base and talk about that's been on your heart or been on your mind that you want to say to the people?
I think for me, you know me, there. I care about kids, and I care about kids' well-being, man. And I just want these kids to really, really evaluate their situations, whether it's high school, college, evaluate the situation. Understand what it is that you're getting yourself into. If you're getting ready to pick an AAU team, pick the right AAU team for you. Understand what that AAU team is and what they do. That way you don't have to hop around, because when you hop around, it looks bad. It just does, whatever the circumstances may be. Same thing with this portal. Evaluate. Hey, you may not be getting playing time this year, but you may get some playing time this year. You may need to work harder. Maybe you need to go talk to the coach, ask him what you could be doing better. Coach, how can I get minutes on the floor? Before you jump into the portal, because if you jump into that portal and you don't get what you want, you may have to drop down a level, which is not all that bad. But just understand what you're doing before you jump in the portal. Because obviously,
I agree,
you're not going to know anything, because college coaches are not supposed to be talking to you until you get in the portal. So at the end of the day, once you get in that portal, you don't know if college coaches are going to call you or not. You obviously got to depend on your AAU coaches and your contacts. But at the end of the day, evaluate. Just evaluate that situation. And for these guys that are in the 21 and 22 class, all is not lost. Coaches are still recruiting high school guys. Trust me. You build programs for the most part with high school guys. So coaches are always looking for good high school guys. So before you guys play in these tournaments, just understand, I'm going to go out here on the floor and I'm going to give it my best. Especially when it comes time June, where we're coming live. But even before then, because we're looking at these videos, we're watching. I know I'm watching. So at the end of the day, we're watching all these games. So when you get ready to get on the floor, make sure you're playing at full speed. Make sure you're playing as hard as you can play for the amount of time that you're in the game, because you never know who's watching. And a lot of times guys are looking for pieces. You may be a knockdown shooter. Sometimes we may need a guy that's a great defender. So you never know what coaches need. So make sure you're going out there playing as hard as you can play and playing to your foot. Like, give it all. Give all your energy, because that portal is real. For you high school guys, the portal is real. And that is something that coaches are looking at. We're looking in the portal. But all is not lost for high school guys, because you build programs with high school guys. Now, it's going to be a little bit different because the landscape has changed, but you still want high school guys on your team. You want to try to build a program with high school guys, in my opinion.
I agree with you, man. Great talk. Some nuggets I got out of this today are, first of all, always play hard every time you get on the court. You never know who's watching. You're always being evaluated. You're always being interviewed. Don't think that once it's on film, it can be watched live, and it can also be watched on demand. So when it's on film, know that you better put your best effort out there, because that might be your one chance, your one impression to impress a guy like Coach Ya. And if you played bad that day, you had bad body language, or you didn't play hard, know that you could have ruined your opportunity. Second thing is, high school guys, know that you're playing against your opponents that are on the court and your peers, but you're also playing against the transfer guys. So you got to step your game up. You got to step your game up, man. You got to play harder than you played before. It means more. It's not fair. It doesn't matter. You can't complain. It's life. Figure it out. Play harder, play better, work harder, take advantage of your opportunities.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming out here, y'all, man. This was great. Always love to have you on the show. We're going to do a coach's edition, but we couldn't do it without having you on here first. Again, kudos to you. Congrats to you. All my IU fans out there, you got a great one. I'm telling you, you got a great guy. He's going to do great things in your program. Kids, you need to be looking. This is a guy, hopefully he gets a chance to recruit you because he'll be in your life for forever. Thank you very much, man. LaBWork out.
We out.